Hi guys, welcome back to Gandhi, the Decolonization of British India, Coin Volume 9 by Bruce Mansfield. I'm Scott Mansfield, and along with developer Jason Carr, we make up the Gandhi design team. In the last video, I showed you guys a little bit of the non-player system, which we called Arjuna, and we ran through the non-player British Raj assault operation and their govern operation, as well as doing a quick revolutionaries event that placed a couple of guerrillas on the map. This time we're going to show you how the non-player Raj sweep operation works, and we're going to take a look at the move priorities box on the inside of the non-player PAC. Let's bring up the non-player A card and take a look inside. On the right you'll see the move priorities box, and at first glance it looks more complicated than it really is. But like the space selection priorities tables on the left, we're only going to be dealing with the column on the right that corresponds to the faction that we're running. In this case, just the British Raj column. Within that column, just the rows that are lettered and the rows that have dots. The lettered rows are there to help you select your destination and your origin, and the dots are the criteria for how those pieces will move. So let's start at the very top. The select the destination under the letter A. It's asking us to use the space selection priority tables on the left. And since we're going to be doing the British Raj sweep, we're only going to be looking at the sweep column on the British Raj space selection priorities table. After we selected our destination using the sweep column, we go back to the move priorities table and select our origin, which will always be the space with the most friendly cubes that has not been selected as a destination, and that those pieces can actually reach our destination. Then we apply all our dotted criteria to the best we can until we either have control of the space or the origin is no longer applicable, which will drop us down to the letter C, and it's going to have us answer two red checkmark questions. Either if cubes exceed active adversaries in the destination and the Raj can select another sweep destination, it'll push us back to the letter A, which will have us select a new destination. If cubes do not exceed active adversaries in the destination that we just chose, it's going to have us select a new origin space to see if we can gain control of our first destination. Okay, so let's take a look at our sweep column here on the non-player British Raj space selection priorities table, and work down dot by dot until we're able to isolate that first destination for our sweep. And again, we're going to apply each dot, we're going to stack them to isolate that one spot. So the first criteria is asking you to look for a space with no Raj control, of which there's lots across the board. So let's continue down. Now we're looking for two population spaces, also at no Raj control. Again, there's quite a few. The next is asking you to look for protest spaces that are two population that don't have any Raj control. Well, that cancels out West Bengal and United Provinces, but keeps in Madras Presidency, Bombay Presidency, and Punjab. As we continue down the list, the next dot is a space with the fewest active adversaries. Well, there's two active adversaries in Punjab, and there's two in Madras Presidency, but there's three in Bombay Presidency. So it's going to isolate it between Punjab and Madras Presidency. The next criteria is a space that meets all those plus has unrest. Well, Madras Presidency is the only space between Punjab and itself that has unrest, so that's going to be our first sweep destination. Now that we have our first destination, let's go back to the Move Priorities table here and see how we select an origin space. Under B, the Select an Origin is the space with the most friendly cubes that has not already been selected as a destination. Now, the other part of this is, remember, the cubes have to be able to get there following the human rules. Arjuna does not break those, so it must follow sweep in this case exactly how it's written here. So the origin is going to be Madras, because a quick look at the board shows no other cubes could actually reach Madras Presidency. This sepoy up here in Hyderabad could possibly reach it, but there's a strike marker here. And remember, cubes cannot enter railroads that have strike markers. Okay, so we know the origin is going to be Madras. Now we go back here again to the move priorities and we work down dot by dot applying the criteria. The first dot criteria is asking you to keep one troop and one sepoy at each two population not at active support. Madras is not at active support, but it's also a one pop space, so we can ignore that first line. The next line is keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. So let's keep that in mind as we move cubes over from Madras into Madras Presidency, that we don't lose control of Madras. The next is a red checkmark question, and it's asking you, is the destination a city or a province, which it is. Let's get one troop to the destination. There's no troop here, so we have to get one troop if we can to the destination. What that red checkmark question is reminding you is that troops can never enter states. So we move the Raj troop over, and that's going to activate this lone guerrilla. Well, the next question is add sepoys and then troops. Before we apply that line, we need to check to see if the new space, if the destination is controlled. Well, there's 3 active adversaries and there's 3 cubes, so it's not controlled. So now we're going to apply that line. Add sepoys, then troops until cubes exceed any active adversaries in the destination. So we'll take a single sepoy cube, move it into Madras Presidency, and again we see, do we have control? Well, now there's 4 cubes to the 3 active adversaries, so the Raj does gain control, and that would shift up the British Raj victory levels, but we're not going to worry about doing that during this video. Okay, so we're done selecting our first destination, and we drop down to the letter C at the very bottom, and we answer these 2 red checkmark questions. The first red checkmark question is asking you, do cubes exceed active adversaries in the destination, and can the MP Raj select another sweep destination? If so, go back up to step A. So it's telling you, do they have control of this destination? If they do, and they can select a new space, go back and select a new destination. The second red check mark question is, do cubes not exceed active adversaries in destination? So if cubes do not exceed the active adversaries here, and they can no longer move from their first origin space, it's asking you to try to find another origin space with that primary destination to see if you can then gain control from that second origin space. But that doesn't apply here. We're going to select a new destination for our next sweep. But before we do that, we need to make an activation roll for the British Raj sepoys. That activation number is always in the top right corner of the Arjuna deck. And for the British Raj, it's always going to be equal to or less than restraint. So what we want to do is we want to roll a die, and if that die roll is less than or equal to restraint, then sepoys can no longer do this operation. Well, we rolled a 4, so sepoys are going to be able to continue with this operation. Troops are always going to have to do the operation to its most extent, so we always do an activation roll just for the sepoys. And we do that in this case before we do our next destinations across the entire sweep operation. But sepoys are going to be able to continue to move. Okay, so we could go back to the space selection priorities table here to isolate that second sweep destination. But if you remember, it came down to Madras Presidency or Punjab, so we can automatically select Punjab. Okay. Now again, we go back over here to the move priorities to select our origin, but if you remember, the origin space is always going to be it's always going to be the space with the most cubes that can reach the destination. In this case, Delhi obviously has the most cubes and it can reach the destination, so that's going to be our origin space. And we just work down dot by dot under the move priorities here until we gain control of that space. So the first criteria is keep 1 troop and 1 sepoy at each 2 pop, not at active support. Delhi has active support, but it also is a 1 pop space, so we can ignore that line. The next line is keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. Well, we'll keep that in mind as we move cubes from Delhi to Punjab, although I don't think we'll have a problem with that. The next line is a red checkmark question that's asking you, is the destination a city or a province? If it is, we want to get 1 troop to the destination. The red checkmark there is there to remind you that troops can never enter states. Well, we already have a troop in Punjab, so we can ignore that line. The next is get 1 sepoy to the destination. There's already a sepoy in the destination, so we don't move a new sepoy in based on that line. Now we're going to stop and see if we have control. We don't have control yet because we haven't moved any cubes in. But if we had control, then we would drop down and apply the letter C. Okay, so the next line then is add sepoys, then troops until cubes exceed any active adversaries in the destination. So we'll move 1 cube over, and because we swept over with that sepoy, we're going to activate 1 guerrilla for every cube there. There's only 2 guerrillas here, so we go ahead and activate both those. And there's 4 active adversaries to the 3 cubes, so they still don't have control. So we continue adding sepoys until we can gain control, or troops if there's no longer any sepoys available. Well, now we're equal with the active adversaries, and equal does not gain control, so let's move in a 5th sepoy, and that 5th sepoy now will gain control of Punjab. And we will make an adjustment on the Raj's victory level, but we're not going to do that for the video. Okay, so we're finished with our second destination, which was Punjab, and now we're going to look for our third destination. Again, we want to do another activation roll, which is going to be equal to or less than restraint. We rolled a 5, and currently restraint is 2, so we're okay. So sepoys are going to continue with the operation. Now, if you remember way back when we selected our first destination, it came down to Madras Presidency, Bombay Presidency, or Punjab. We've already done Punjab and Madras Presidency, so that leaves Bombay Presidency, so we can naturally just put a pawn there. Okay. Now, where are they going to sweep from? Again, they're going to sweep from the space with the most cubes that can reach the destination, and a quick look shows that Bombay is that space, and we can then go through and apply the dot by dot as we move pieces in. So keep 1 troop and 1 sepoy at each 2 population, not at active support. And again, Bombay does not have active support, but it's also a 1 pop space, so that does not apply. Keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. And in this case, that's going to mean we want to keep at least 1 cube there to keep control of Bombay. The next is the destination a city or a province, which it is. We'll get 1 troop to the destination. There's no troop there as is, so we're going to move 1 troop over. Now, by sweeping into with 1 troop, we're going to this guerrilla here will become activated. And now there's 1, 2, 3, 4 active adversaries to the 1 cube. They do not have control yet. Let's get 1 sepoy to the destination. That's our next line. Okay, so there's no sepoy there as is, so we're going to get 1 sepoy over. There's 2 cubes there, again, to the 4 active adversaries. They still don't have control, so we're going to apply the next line, which is add sepoys and then troops until cubes exceed any active adversaries. So we move a 3rd cube in. Let's tuck that Muslim League activist up there. So we have 3 cubes to the 4 cubes there that are active. Again, we still don't have control, so let's move in another sepoy there. Okay, so now there's 4 sepoys there. I'm sorry, there's 4 cubes there, and there's 4 active adversaries, but they still don't have control. We cannot sweep in that last troop because we would lose control of Bombay, so they're stuck there, but they don't have control. So let's go down and apply letter C and see what happens. The first check mark is asking us, do cubes exceed active adversaries in destination? That's a no. The second check mark, cubes do not exceed active adversaries in destination. That's correct. So we go to step B, which is asking us to select a new origin space that can reach. Well, if you look around, the only origin spaces that can reach, that have the most cubes, is looking like up here in Bihar. We'll address that in a second. And see, Madras cannot reach there because of the strike. So it's going to be between Hyderabad, which only has 1, and Bihar. If you look up here at Bihar, it has 3 cubes, which obviously is more than Hyderabad. It has one active piece there in that lone guerrilla. So we're going to move 1 sepoy along this railroad into Bombay Presidency because that had the most pieces and it met all the criteria. We're not going to lose control by moving that 1 cube out. And we have to leave at least 1 sepoy there because it's a 2 pop space, is not at active support. So by moving that last 5th cube into Bombay Presidency, we gain control of that space, and that destination is now complete. Let's select our 4th destination. And remember, we have to go back through, we have to roll our activation number, which is equal to or less than restraint, which currently is 2. We rolled a 4, so sepoys are going to continue with this operation. If we go back to our space selection priorities table, and we work down on the sweep column, dot by dot, stacking those dots until we isolate our 4th spot. The first criteria is still asking us for a space with no Raj control, of which there's a lot. Now we're looking for 2 population spaces. Well, there's West Bengal and there's United Provinces, both of which don't have Raj control. So the next is protest. Well, neither of them have protest, so we can ignore that line. The next criteria is fewest active adversaries. Well, that lone active guerrilla in United Provinces cancels that space out, which then isolates West Bengal as our next sweep destination. So now for the origin space. Again, if you can't remember, the origin space is the space with the most cubes that can reach. Well, the space with the most cubes is down here in Calcutta with 8, and it can reach because it's adjacent to West Bengal, but it has a protest marker, and protests always lock cubes in that space, so they are taken out of the equation. So right here, East Bengal is the next space that can reach West Bengal, and it has the most cubes. So we work down, again, dot by dot, applying that criteria until we can try to gain control. We want to keep 1 troop and 1 sepoy at each 2 population space, not at active support. Well, East Bengal is a 2 population space, but it's also active support, so we don't need to worry about keeping 1 troop and 1 sepoy there. The next criteria is keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. So again, let's keep in mind that there's 2 active pieces here, and as we move cubes in, we want to leave at least 3 cubes there to retain control of East Bengal. Okay, so now we want to get 1 troop to the destination. Since there's no troop already here in West Bengal, we'll move in a single troop. And the next criteria is get 1 sepoy to the destination. And again, there's no sepoys already here, so we're going to get 1 sepoy to the destination. And by doing that, does that gain us control of West Bengal? It does. So we're going to change that to control, and we would adjust the victory levels of the British Raj, but again, we're not going to do that in the video. Now, because we have control, the next line, add sepoys, then troops until cubes exceed any active adversaries in the destination, that does not apply here, okay? So now we move on to the letter C at the very bottom. And again, we answer each of those red checkmark questions until we get to an affirmative. Cubes exceed active adversaries in the destination. That's a yes. And can the British Raj select a new sweep destination? That's also a yes. So we go back and we select our next destination. Let's find our fifth destination. Well, let's go ahead and first we've got to do our activation roll, which is a 4, which is greater than restraint. So sepoys are going to be able to continue with this operation. And we could go back to our space selection priorities table here, working down our sweep column until we find our fifth destination. But if you recall, it came down to West Bengal and United Provinces last time. And since we swept into West Bengal, United Provinces is the next logical destination. Our origin space, again, is going to be the space with the most cubes that can reach the destination, which is Delhi. And so let's work down our instructions until we try to gain control. Remember, keep 1 troop and 1 sepoy at each 2 population, not at active support. Well, this is at active support, but it's also a 1 pop space, so that doesn't apply. Keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. We'll remember that as we move cubes in from Delhi into the United Provinces. The next is a red checkmark question, and it's asking is the destination a city or a province, which it is. We want to get 1 troop to the destination. There's no troop already here in the United Provinces, so we're going to move 1 troop in. Moving that troop is going to activate that 1 underground guerrilla. Now we want to get 1 sepoy to the destination. There's already a sepoy in the destination, so we're not going to move a new one in based on that line. Cubes do not exceed the active adversaries in the space, so they do not have control. We want to stop at this point to see if they have control. They don't have control, so we're going to continue on to the last dot here on the British Raj column, which is add sepoys, then troops until cubes exceed any active adversaries in the destination. So we're going to start by moving sepoys in until we exceed active adversaries, and it only took 1 extra cube to exceed the 2 active guerrillas to take control of the United Provinces. Now we move down to the letter C at the bottom of the move priorities table again, and we answer both of those red checkmark questions. The first check mark is, do cubes exceed active adversaries in destination, which they do, so we don't even need to answer the second red check mark question. Because they exceed active adversaries, we're going to go back to step A, and the British Raj can select a new destination, so that's what it's telling us to do, it's telling us to go back and select a destination for our 6th sweep destination. Okay, let's find our 6th destination. And again, we want to roll our activation number again, which is equal to or less than restraint. We rolled a 6, which is greater than restraint, so sepoys are going to continue with this next operation. And let's go back through our sweep column here under the space selection priorities table to find our next space. It's going to be a little bit more complicated this time because there's multiple spaces. The first criteria is a space with no Raj control. Again, there's still quite a bit with no Raj control. Now we're looking for 2 pop spaces. Well, there's no longer any 2 pop spaces without any Raj control, so we can skip that line and move on to the next line, which is protest. And again, that doesn't apply because there's no protest in the spaces with no Raj control. And then we go down to the fewest active adversaries, and all the spaces with no Raj control are equal in the number of active adversaries. There's no unrest in any of those spaces, and there's no troops in any of those spaces. And none of those is a Muslim state, which drops us all the way down to 1 random space. To do the random spaces, we go on the back side of the non-player A card to the random spaces map, and let's go ahead and roll to see where our 6th destination space is going to be. Okay, well, we rolled a 6 and a 6, which corresponds to black 6 down here, and the 6 is going to be Madras, and that's clearly not going to be one of the destinations. So let's go from 6-6, it goes all the way back to 1-1, way up here in the northwest, in Karachi, and then 1-2, which is Sindh, which is our next destination because it's uncontrolled, and it meets all the other criteria, and so that's going to be our 6th destination for sweep. And again, we're going to do the selection for the origin. It's going to be the space with the most cubes that can reach it that has not already been selected as a destination. Punjab could reach it, and it has the most cubes, but it's already been selected as a destination, so that is out. So the only space that can reach it that has the most cubes is going to be Delhi or Karachi. Now, Delhi works because there's no strike marker here on this railroad here, and obviously there's more cubes in Delhi than Karachi. So they're going to sweep again from Delhi down that railroad into Sindh. Okay. And again, we go through and we apply each of the dotted criteria. Working down, we want to keep 1 troop and 1 sepoy at each 2 pop, not at active support. Doesn't apply in Delhi. Keep sufficient pieces to lose no Raj control. We'll keep that in mind. Is the space a province or a city, which it is, so let's get 1 troop to the destination. And we move down that one troop, and we'll get one sepoy to the destination based on that next line. Now, by doing that, do they gain control of Sind, which they do, which means we do not apply the next line, which is add sepoys, then troops until cubes exceed active adversaries. Let's work all the way down to the letter C, which is asking us for the first red check mark, do cubes exceed active adversaries in the destination, which they do, and can Raj select another space for sweep, which they can. So let's move on to our next destination. Before we can select our next destination, remember we still have to do our activation roll, which is a 1. So we failed the activation roll, so sepoys are now locked out of this operation. They can no longer perform sweep. Troops have to. They have to continue the sweep until we've swept with as much as we can. So we can either go down through the sweep column here under the space selection priorities table again to isolate those spaces, or we can take a look at the board and see where we can actually sweep with troops. Assam up here in the northeast and Baluchistan up there in the northwest are the only 2 spaces left that can be swept into with troops. With this single troop here in East Bengal and this troop here in Karachi. And because it doesn't really matter which one we do first, we can just do them both at the same time. So we sweep into Assam and we change control there, and we sweep from Karachi into Baluchistan and we take control there. And remember to adjust Raj's victory level when you do that. Well, looking across the board, we see that there's no other place that the Raj troops can perform sweep, not even in place, which would be the next priority, would be the sweep in place with them. Look in the middle here that Central Provinces is still uncontrolled, but there's no way that a troop can reach there. They're locked in the Calcutta because of the protest. That lone troop in Bombay is locked there because if we remove him, we're going to lose control. You cannot select an origin that's been selected as a destination, so Central Provinces is going to remain uncontrolled. And the same can be said for up here in Northwest Frontier. There's no way a troop can reach there. Well, that concludes our Non-Player Raj sweep demonstration. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.